truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice, and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan live, Friday, May 22nd, 2020. Hope everyone's doing okay. Obviously a lot in the news. We are broadcasting, as always, from the United Corporations of America. This is Status Coup. And did anything controversial happen today? Anything? Before we get to Joe Biden's buffoonery, racism, arrogance, lies, unfortunately, more grim news as the coronavirus death count continues to go up. I believe we're about to hit 95,000 deaths here in America, and insane governors continue to reopen the economy. So we will talk about that, obviously, a little bit later. We have a big show for you. 200 people are already watching. 100 of you have pressed the like button. You know the drill. I need every one of you. Please, be so kind. Press that like button. It's a thumbs up button right under the video. More people that press like, the more people that will see the video. We'll talk about the text list a little later. We are live also on Status Coup, at Status Coup on the Twitter, so definitely follow us at Twitter. We just passed 34,000 there. Also, follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Status Coup, trying to grow there in addition to Twitter. And join our email list, statuscoup.com. Enter your email if you can. This is a super chat. It's Friday. If you're feeling super, let us know. We also have our Sunday marathon on Sunday. Did an interview today with a Detroit group that is starting a rent strike. Also have another interview coming up with a Dollar General store worker that was fired for trying to organize. Hopefully, waiting to hear if I could get a bigger name for Sunday for an interview. So we will be live on Sunday, noon Eastern time. So definitely get ready there. And today, boy, wouldn't it be amazing if we could raise the money to hit $103,000 in our GoFundMe. Thank you, Carmen, for the $50 8 hours ago. Thank you, Adrian. Yesterday left $100. We are now $400, just $430, $430 away from $103,000 raised. Ultimate goal is $110,000. As always, we totally understand for those that can't donate. Tough times for everybody. For those that can, we appreciate every single donation, even if it's $5. Makes a huge difference because we have plans, once it's safe, to get out into the field, as always, and report on the stories that no one else is covering. Maybe we'll talk about our story list a little bit later. So, thank you for getting us started in the super chat. Swirly swirl, $5. I'm expecting a spike in cases. In my area, it's citywide garage sale weekend. Tell us where your area is. I can't believe they're having garage sales during a deadly pandemic when we're headed towards 100,000 deaths. It's unbelievable, the stupidity of these governors and these public officials, as we've talked about every day. So obviously the news is Joe Biden did an interview this morning with Charlemagne the God. I would love to get on with you, Charlemagne, if you're watching. Really influential show, Breakfast Club host. And Joe Biden, the takeaway that everyone's covering is, of course, his, what do you even say? Tone deaf, racist, arrogant, white privileged comments, which I'm about to show you. But I actually watched the whole interview. And I got to tell you, folks, obviously I'm white. I don't want to speak for black people. But I think there's a lot more in that interview that people should be offended by if you're a black person. Frankly, all people should be offended by. The headline is what he said about if you ain't voting for me over Trump, you ain't black. But the sheer disgusting things he was saying other than that, including lies, he repeatedly lied during that interview. Nobody in the media is really pointing out the specific lies, so I'm going to. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable, the lies that this guy got away with. So let's start out with the obvious. Nina Turner has responded to us on Joe Biden's words. We will start out with the worst. We will start out with the worst of his comments and go from there.
Multiple.
Well,
Thanks so much. That's really our time. I apologize.
You can't do that to black media.
I can't do that to white media and black media because my wife has to go on at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. Come on. Take a look at the record.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Anyway, thanks. I will come back.
All right.
I look forward to seeing you in person.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay, pal. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Charlamagne.
Did you all hear that? Did you all hear that? Oh, volume issues? Give me a second. One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? How's the volume now? Can people hear me? Can people hear me? 1, 2, 1, 2. Come on, man. Here's the deal. Come on, man. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. So if you hear Joe Biden, and remember, we got 370 people watching, only 164 of you have pressed that like button. I need another 200 of you. Please press the like button. Please press the like button. So, where do you even start? Well, I'm going to start with Nina Turner. I reached out to her to get her comments on this. Here's what Nina Turner had to say about Joe Biden's insane comments. And by the way, Jen, if you don't mind dropping it in the live chat so people can retweet our tweet, Nina Turner, and what she told us. So Nina Turner, in response to Joe Biden saying, you ain't black if you don't vote for him, quote, pure, unadulterated hubris, the taking for granted of the black vote, the insult to us as he tried to quote unquote answer that question in a black vernacular. What other racial or ethnic group in this country has to deal with that kind of foolishness? Not one, where all of a sudden you change your speech pattern to answer the question. Two? Too many white politicians have a habit of thinking if they change their speech pattern, they're really relating to the black community. So as I said all along, the black vote must be earned. It is not owned, it is earned. For any white person to think that they are the authority on what is and what is not black is the highest insult. And that is Nina Turner, former co-chair of Bernie Sanders' campaign. And this part, I think, is really critical. What other racial or ethnic group in this country has to deal with that kind of foolishness? Not one where all of a sudden you change your speech pattern to answer the question to, which he did. He did change his speech pattern to answer the question. So, no chats? Yes, this is a super chat. Feel free. Keep it coming in the super chat. And let's see. Don't want to forget. Thank you, Terrell. Terrell Boulard, $35 in the GoFundMe. Kelly, $5 in the GoFundMe. We are now just, what is that? 430? Yeah, $430 away from $103,000 raised. Keep it coming. I would love to hit that $103,000 today if we can. So I think before I get to my thoughts on those comments, I actually think if you watched the whole interview, which I did, there's even worse things he said. And that's hard to believe because that was so cringeworthy what he said. But you really have to watch the full interview to get a full understanding of how god-awful Joe Biden is as a candidate, how Joe Biden has racist thinking, how Joe Biden is a compulsive liar and it was never, ever exposed because the media hid and covered up for his compulsive lying. Thank you for the super chat. John Coyne, $10. Who the F can I vote for? When will we ever get a good candidate? Shit looks really grim. I agree with you. I agree. So, if you'll tolerate it, I'm going to play the full interview, and I'm going to stop and start it to point out to you even worse things that he said that are not getting attention. So here we go.
Former Vice President Joe Biden defended his record on race to Charlemagne the God on the popular radio show The Breakfast Club on Friday, at one point telling the host that if you support President Trump, quote, then you ain't black, quote.
Wake that ass up in the morning. The Breakfast Club.
President Biden, how are you today?
Good. Good. I said I can hardly wait to meet with that.
And win a campaign from the House.
Well, I tell you what, I was like yours.
Okay.
All the stuff about it hurting me. It's not hurting me. I'm winning in all those states. I'm ahead in all the national polls. And the more he talks, the better off I am.
Yeah, we know polls can be illusions, though. Like, you know, we looked at all the polls in 2016, too, and look what happened.
Totally different, man. 2016 is totally different. What you had then is you had somebody who didn't know it all. They wanted to just change the system the way it was. He was the biggest change. He had no serious opposition that turned out to materialize. And so it's totally different. Right now, we're in a situation where it's like, you know, that Carney show goes through town once and you find out there's no pee under any one of those 3 shells that get pushed around. Mm-hmm. Next time it comes back, what do? Next time it comes back, you ain't playing. You got to figure it out. Okay. And let me tell you something. My community's figured it out a while ago. But here's the deal. What I have to do is I have to continue to talk about the things that matter. And the things that matter are, for example, right now there's a study out.
Can anybody understand what the fuck this guy is talking about? Excuse my French. Swear jar, demonetized. Can anybody understand what in the hell this guy is babbling about? On one end, you have President Trump saying, I tested positively negative about his coronavirus testing. I tested positively negative, he said yesterday. Not making any sense. But Joe Biden is incoherent. He says, thank you, Daryl May, $5 in the super chat. Has Biden made any concessions yet running for president? If you consider a task force a real concession, no, he has not. He gave a big middle finger to the progressive movement. Anthony, $2. People need to unendorse Joe because this is out of the park. Thank you. Ask a classy black man. Wisdom, $5. Got to give something today just because you allow regular black men to talk fully during an interview. I allow regular black men, regular white men, regular all men and women to talk as fully as possible, unless they're a corrupt politician, and then I'll interrupt them. Thank you, Ask a Classy Black Man, for the wisdom. So, honestly, I'm asking you guys honestly, do you understand a word he just said? Thank you, Robert, $15 in the GoFundMe. We are now $415 away. $415 away from 103,000. He says this is not 2016. It's different because, then there was something and people wanted something different and there was something and this time there was something. It literally makes no sense. And to tell you the truth, I actually think it's different than 2016. I think he's right about that. But the problem is, come on, man. It's different because I actually think he might do even worse than Hillary Clinton did among black voters. And I'm a white guy, so I'm not white-splaining. But I got to tell you, I've interviewed a lot of black people around the country. I really, listening to him speak, listening to him say, you ain't black if you don't vote for me. I don't know a lot of black people under 40 years old that are going to throw up their hands and say, well, I got to vote for this incoherent, senile, country club racist because Trump. I don't know a lot of younger black folks. Again, want to be careful. I'm white, don't want to speak for black people at all. But based on the African Americans that I interview all over the country, I don't know a lot of black people that would hold their nose and vote for that, which is dangerous politically if you want to defeat Donald Trump. Maybe older black voters will hold their nose and vote for this country club racist because there's other things he says that are racist that aren't getting attention. Thank you very much for the super chats. Blah, 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 blah. Rashid Barnes, $15, sponsoring a few F-bombs. Thank you, my motherfucking friend Rashid. Thank you, Rashid. Appreciate it. Mona Carmona. Ooh, that rhymes. $9.99 for the swear jar. No Biden doesn't ever make any sense. Love your show, Jordan. Love you, Mona. I hope to see you on Sunday for our marathon live stream. So it's incoherent. He don't make any sense. God bless Charlemagne for dealing with this guy. So now let's keep going because it gets worse. And remember, press that like button. We got 550 viewers. 337 of you have pressed that like button. If we can get another 200 of you to press the like button, we'll get the audience through the roof. Let's keep going.
Out of Columbia University and the disease control center up there. They pointed out that if he had listened to me and others and acted just 1 week earlier to deal with this virus, there'd be 36,000 fewer people dead. And you guys are wondering what's he doing? Come on, man. Get a life. Get a life. This guy has been incredibly terrible. And what we've had is, back in
I'm sorry. But again, he just told Charlemagne wasn't even challenging him. He wasn't criticizing him. He wasn't challenging him. And out of nowhere, he just says, come on, man, get a life, to a black guy. I'm not saying you can't say to a black man, get a life. I mean, you could say that to anyone. But why are you screaming when Charlemagne isn't challenging you? He's not criticizing you. Does this guy not realize that you're screaming, and frankly, at a black host? But more importantly, that you're screaming, come on, man. Usually you would say, come on, man, get a life, if you're being challenged. but you're not being challenged. If somebody is acting like incoherent lunatic when he's not being challenged, how do you think he's going to respond on a stage next to Donald Trump, who's going to call him a dementia patient, racist, guy who likes sniffing young children's hair? I'm sorry, that's coming. You think it's not coming from Donald Trump? Donald Trump? Dan E. 1499 in the super chat. It only becomes more obvious and blatant every day that Joe Biden is not fit for office. It's disturbingly pathetic and an insult to us all. Thank you for all you do. 28 Black, Dallas, Texas. Thank you, Dan E. Appreciate it. John Coyne, $5. Jordan, you should get Poppy Shulamin on the show. Come on, man. John Coyne, I am distraught to say I don't know who Poppy Shulamin is. Do you? If you tell me who he is, I'll try to get him on the show. info@statuscoup.com. Let me know who that is. But thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. I don't understand. He's yelling at the guy. Come on, man. Thank you, Mary Taylor, $30 in the GoFundMe. Now we're getting somewhere. $385 to go. $385 to go. Love it. Keep it coming. Every amount counts. I think we can get to 103,000 today. So it just gets worse and worse and worse. Let's keep going.
With not just China, but when in January, I wrote an article back, I think, the 27th of January, said this pandemic's here. We should act. Every other country that was acted around the time, got the notice around the time we did, they have considerably fewer deaths as a percent of the population. I'm the guy that said we ought to take hard records and find out exactly how many people in the Black community are getting COVID and are dying from it. And look what's happened. Now everybody's going, oh, surprise, surprise. Look, everybody knows this. We have to come back. We have to fight back. And, you know, the crisis is laying bare the institutional racism that's still prevalent in our society. And I believe we have to address it by transforming our economy, and this time bringing everybody along. And we haven't, look, he started to undermine the pillars of his economy before. Look, the blinders, Charlemagne, in my view, have been taken off. Okay. Now people recognize that those essential workers, a disproportionate amount of them are African Americans, and they're breaking their necks, risking their lives, losing their lives. They're grocery store workers, they're bus drivers, they're delivery people, they're the people who are on the line. They're the healthcare workers who are in a position where they're taking care of the nurses. I mean, and they're making basically the minimum wage. So this time when we come back, we had to not only move this along, we not only rebuild, but we have to transform this economy. We can create millions of new jobs in transportation, energy structure. There's jobs, a job is a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity, it's about respect, it's about how you're treated. And that's how we built from the working class to the middle class. But this time we have to address the institutional racism. We've seen it more clearly now. In a Black majority county, they're 6 times more likely to die in a pandemic than a white county.
So, if I'm Charlemagne, I can't get in the man's head, but judging by his face, it's kind of hard to interview someone if you can't understand what the hell they're saying. Joe Biden was slurring at points, babbling at points, and can't make a point, can't finish sentences or thoughts. He just says, look at it, look. Come on, man. Look it. I'm not mocking him. I'm just telling you what's very visual on screen. And thank you for the super chat. Mona Camarona, $4.99. He goes by Richard Murdust. We all love him and would love to see a collab. Send me the info. info@statuscoup.com. info@statuscoup.com. Thank you, John Coyne, $5. Oh, I read yours. Did I miss any others? Henry Volt, 35, $10. This makes me think back to when Nina Turner had a 3-person interview with Chris Cuomo and a Biden pundit when the pundit said Nina wasn't allowed to reference MLK. That is a very good point. I wish I thought of that. I would have had that clip ready to go. I agree with you. The arrogance of Joe Biden is astounding. So, for a few things. Number one, Joe Biden is very good at talking about what Trump is doing wrong or what he has done wrong. But what he would actually have done, you get no specifics. That's what the Democratic Party is. Trump is the Antichrist. Trump is doing everything wrong, which, by the way, I agree. This is not a defense of Donald Trump. I would love to see Donald Trump defeated. But this guy ain't going to do it. I can tell you that. It's just not going to happen with Joe Biden. He doesn't make sense. All he does is blast Trump without saying what he would actually do. And frankly, Charlemagne is not like a journalist. So I would have challenged him, right, but you're talking about all the structural inequities and the institutional racism and the barriers to black people. You put a lot of those barriers in there, Joe Biden. It's not just the crime bill. You, with the bankruptcy bill that hurt people's single mothers, disproportionately African-American, by the way, ability to declare bankruptcy. You, by the way, pushed to repeal Glass-Steagall. Repealing Glass-Steagall led to the 2008 financial crash. Guess who was disproportionately harmed by the 2008 financial crash? That would be African Americans who were foreclosed on more than white people. I mean, the list goes on. The Iraq War. Bernie Sanders never got into this. A lot of young black men went to die in that war. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. The bankruptcy bill, the Iraq War, the Patriot Act, the crime bill, Glass-Steagall, NAFTA, TPP, all of these things have harmed everybody, but have specifically harmed black people. Thank you for the super chat. Ask a classy black man wisdom, $10. Right there, Charles should have said, well, Joe, what is your EEOC solution for these black jobs you spoke of, Joe? Black men get blocked from employment at the application level more than anyone in the USA. Exactly. Catherine Garrett. Hey, fat. Let's go do the thing. Come on, man. I got to get a shirt. Come on, man. Thank you for the GoFundMe. Anthony Scannell, $5. Cecilia, $10. We are now $370 away. $370 away from $103,000 raised. Keep it coming, guys. I really appreciate it. So he has no solutions, and he says, this time, if I'm president, this time the recovery will, black people will lead the recovery. How? Are you going to do an FDR-like government jobs program specifically tailored to inner cities? If so, tell us. Are you going to invest actual money, not in job training? The Democrats love their job training. No. Are you going to invest actual dollars for black jobs? Are you going to expand education for black people? Free public college tuition. And by the way, I think it should be for white people too, because there's a lot of poor white people too. But you're on a show, he's asking you about black issues. All you're doing is saying black people are getting hammered by this president. But he's not proposing what he would do. Let's continue.
They're disproportionately uninsured in the African American community. Disproportionately make up the essential jobs that they can't do at home. They're risking their lives every day. Enough's enough. And this Biden recovery I'm going to put together will bring everybody along. I'm going to build a better future, not back to what we had, but back to something better than we had.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I don't know if you saw a couple weeks ago, Sean Combs, you might know him as Diddy.
Yeah.
He said what I believe a lot of black voters, including myself, feel, and that's that Democrats take black voters for granted. Votes are quid pro quo, right? It's not like I don't want to vote. I just want to know what candidates will do for us in exchange for our votes. The same way young progressive Latinos, the LGBT community.
Absolutely.
We want the same thing. Do you feel like black people are owed that from the Democratic Party?
Absolutely, Pop. What did I say? Remember when they said Biden can't win the primaries?
Yes.
I kicked everybody's ass. Excuse me. I
No,
won.
talk like that. I need you to say that. You did what?
No, I won overwhelmingly. I told you when I got to South Carolina, I won every single county. I won a larger share of the black vote than anybody has, including Barack. I increased the vote in Virginia overwhelmingly by 70%. Look, what people don't know about me is I come from a state that's the 8th largest black population in America, the 8th largest. I get 96% of that vote for the last 40 years. They're the folks, as they say it my way, brung me to the dance. That's how I get elected every single time. And everybody's shocked. I get overwhelming support from the black leadership, young and old. Every poll shows me way ahead. And it's not just, I hear this, oh yeah, old blacks are with Biden, but youngs aren't. Look at the polling data. Polling data, let's say it's off by half. Come on, man. Give me a little break here. This is where I come from. I got involved. I came home from college, and I had a job with a really fancy law firm out of law school. And my city is the only city in America occupied by the National Guard, the military, for 10 months when Dr. King was shot. And I had this fancy job, a kid coming from a lower middle income household. I quit and became a public defender. And I stayed in that community. I was the only guy when I was in high school. I had a job, a country club kind of job at a swimming pool. I was the only white employee in the East Side because I wanted to work in the projects, because I wanted to understand. That's how I got involved in politics. That's what this is all about for me. It's about equality. It's about dignity. It's about treating people with respect. And so, when you take a look at my record, people talk about the crime bill. Crime bill didn't increase mass incarceration. Other things increased mass incarceration. And the reason why, if you go back and look, and I know you talk about it, you go back and take a look. That's why you had the vast majority of the Black caucus at the time supporting the crime bill. Almost every major city black mayor supported the crime bill because blacks were getting killed overwhelmingly as well. And what happened when that crime bill? It had 4 or 5 really important things. It had the Violence Against Women Act. It said drug courts don't send anybody who has a drug problem to jail, send them to rehabilitation, to a drug court. It had in it, they had the assault weapons ban, getting rid of assault weapons, getting rid of the number of rounds you could have in a gun. It also had in it a whole range of other things, but had things I didn't like. Clinton wanted to put in a deal where, in fact, 3 strikes and you're out. I opposed that 3 strikes and you're out bill. I oppose the position taken that saying that you're going to have any mandatory sentences. But on balance, the whole bill, what happened was it did, in fact, bring down violent crime in Black communities as well. And guess what? The fact is, prison population didn't increase. 94% of every prisoner in jail is in a state prison, not a federal prison, no federal law. And here's the deal. The one thing I opposed in that bill was people wanting to give money to state prisons to build more prisons. I opposed it. But the point was, on balance, everything from the assault women's ban to the violence against women ban to the drug courts, they were important. And now look what we can do. Look, I've been pushing along with my colleagues in.
Again, Joe Biden has been allowed to lie and lie and lie and lie and lie by the media. It's unbelievable the amount of lying this man has been enabled to do. Thank you for the super chats. Don't want to miss any. Pat Anderson, $10. Nee B, $2. Prepare me. What are the downsides to a Nina president? Well, let's get the progressive movement moving before we start getting on Nina being president, but I'd like to see it. I would love to see Nina Turner as the first woman president, first woman black president, but first woman president too. 700 viewers, by the way. 487 of you have pressed the like button. Can I get another 200? 200. I need another 200 of you. Please press the like button. I really appreciate it. Shout out, by the way. Thank you for the GoFundMe donations. Jeffrey Barker, $50 in the GoFundMe. Woohoo! We are now $320 away from hitting $103,000 raised. Keep it coming. I think we could do it today, and it makes a big difference. We need to raise money, because once the coast is clear and it's safe, Status Coup will be back in the field, covering the stories nobody else will touch that you know us for in the trenches. We're not just going to be in the studio like everybody else. We're going to be out there in America, in the United Corporations of America, in the trenches, giving the microphone back to the people. So let me give a little quick history lesson, because he lied many times, and frankly, Charlemagne didn't call him on it. Joe Biden was 100% for mandatory minimums. He pushed it in that bill, so he's lying there. It was 100% for, and actually it was the main incentive to get people to vote for the crime bill, of incentivizing states to create more prisons. So this talking point, the majority of the prisons in America are state prisons, not federal prisons. Yeah, the crime bill, one of the cornerstones of the crime bill, was to incentivize states to build more prisons with money. This was the cornerstone of the crime bill. So Joe Biden, because he knows he could lie and reinvent history and brazenly just make things up, and the media will not call him on it. He lied about being arrested in apartheid South Africa. He lied about being on the front lines. I was leading the charge. I participated in civil rights sit-ins. He talks about Delaware as if it's Selma, Alabama. Sorry, it's not. Joe Biden palled around and worked with arch segregationists Strom Thurmond in the 1970s. I wish Bernie Sanders would have brought that up more. To stop busing. He pushed this crime bill. And by the way, this notion that the crime bill didn't usher in mass incarceration, let's talk about what mass incarceration is, first of all. The first era of mass incarceration, of course, was slavery. And then after the slaves were freed, they moved a lot of those freed slaves into prison. But in modern day mass incarceration, the numbers are the numbers. The imprisonment of black men skyrocketed because of the crime bill, majority for non-violent crimes. When Joe Biden was talking and pushing for the crime bill, he was using racist dog whistles to get the crime bill through. Racist dog whistling like this.
Take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have
Super Predators 2.0. Who's he talking about? Is he talking about white people that were born out of wedlock? Being raised without socialization? Born out of wedlock. That is racist dog whistling. And this is how Trump wins re-election, because Trump excels at facing someone, man or woman, that is a mini Trump. Trump, serious allegations of sexual assault. Biden has an allegation of sexual assault as well as sexual inappropriateness with a lot of women. Trump will use that to diminish his own corruption and inappropriateness and violence, according to the allegations. Trump, a racist, an Islamophobe, a misogynist, a homophobe. Joe Biden, crime bill. Joe Biden, take the predators off the street. Trump is going to be airing those commercials and that over and over and over. Trump is, by the way, I tweeted it earlier, going to be airing the words of other Democrats. Cory Booker talked about Joe Biden ushered in the era of mass incarceration with the crime bill. Other Democrats hit Biden for his role in mass incarceration. And when Joe Biden pretends the crime bill didn't usher in mass incarceration, crime is down. Yeah? Well, why don't you go around to the prisons and you ask people ask the black men in those prisons, when did they get imprisoned and for what? You're going to find a lot of men in South Carolina and elsewhere. I'll never forget this. A couple years ago, 2016, before the South Carolina primary, I was still with the Young Turks. I was interviewing African Americans at a barber shop. They were all for Bernie, by the way. And they said there's 3 jails in this 20-block radius that were built after the crime bill. 3 jails in a 20-mile radius that were built after the crime bill. Who do you think they were putting in those jails? Wall Street donors to Biden? By the way, speaking of Wall Street donors, before Joe Biden made this insane comment today, you know what I was going to lead the story with? Because this corruption is going to be completely ignored. Do you know that last night on a virtual call, a virtual fundraiser with Wall Street donors, at these fundraisers, there's always a pool reporter, which means there's one reporter that is at the fundraiser, in this case on the call, because it was a virtual fundraiser because of the coronavirus. And that one reporter does a report that then all the outlets get the report and could write up their own report. So it's basically the one reporter that then all the other reporters write up their story. A reporter was literally kicked off the fundraising call when Biden opened it up for questions to his donors. How's that for transparency? Yeah, Biden says, yeah, my fundraisers will all be open to the press. Oh, but when I, have to take questions from my Wall Street donors, because this was a Wall Street fundraiser, yeah, you got to go, Cub Scout. It was an NBC reporter that literally was removed from the fundraiser when Joe Biden had to take questions from his fundraiser. Kind of sounds a little bit like Hillary Clinton's, I got the public positions and the private positions. I just wonder which Wall Street donors was Joe Biden offering cabinet positions to after that reporter got kicked off the call. Thank you for the super chat. Blah, 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 blah. Let me make sure. Where are you? Thank you for the super chat. Shiriatsu, $10. Biden is an unabashed liar, but the reality is the majority of black voters who show up anyway will vote for him. This is what happens when we blindly accept the lesser evil and demand nothing. I agree, but I also disagree. Seth Peterson, $50. Woo! Thank you, Seth. Appreciate it. Your generosity always is appreciated. ZJ, $5. They talk about how racist Trump is, but Biden's comments are just as bad, if not worse. If Trump made these comments, the Democrats would kill him for it. Oh, kill him is an understatement. It would be all MSNBC talks about for the next month. And by the way, keep it coming if you can. In the GoFundMe, we are $320 away from hitting $103,000 raised. We really appreciate it. So, I don't even know, first of all, Joe Biden is in an interview with a major African-American host, And within 15 minutes before he said, "You ain't black if you don't vote for me." So before he said that, he said, "Come on, man, give me a break," to this guy. Then he said, "Come on, man, what are you thinking?" He also then lies repeatedly, says, I was against mandatory minimums. I was against 3 strikes. He championed both of those provisions. This was the Biden crime bill. It was named after Biden. He championed the mandatory minimum, championed 3 strikes you're out, and he pushed giving states more money for creating prisons. And in that interview, in just, 2 minutes, he lied about all 3 of those things, saying, I was against it, had nothing to do with it, don't know what you're talking about. Let's go on. By the way, almost 800 people watching, 647 likes. And by the way, if you're new here, make sure you subscribed to this channel right under there. Click the subscribe button, click the bell. YouTube kind of hides us from people. We deal with a lot of suppression, so definitely press the subscribe button. Also, another way we could beat the YouTube suppression, join our text list. We send out text messages like today. We send out text messages for most of our live streams. You could get a text when we're live. A lot of people come, hey, YouTube didn't notify me, but I got the text, so I'm here. That's what we want. It's not cheap for us to send you text messages. It costs us about $30 each time, but it's worth it if we can get our audience up. So join our text list by texting COUP to 370-370. That's COUP to 370-370. So this interview is about to get a lot worse. So hold on to your hats. Hold on to your hats, folks.
In a black caucus in the United States Congress. We should change the entire, and I've been doing this for a while, change the entire prison system from one that is punishment to rehabilitation. There's only a couple things everybody has in common in jail. One is they were the victims of abuse, or their kids were, or their mother was. Number 2, can't read. Number 3, they don't have any job skills. They were in a position where they didn't get a chance. Why does it make sense? Why did I come along and write the first act that said when you get out of prison, you don't just get a notion where you get $25 in a bus ticket. You end up under the bridge. You end up under the bridge and just do the same place. So every single solitary person being released from prison should have access to every single government program. Why does it not make sense to have African Americans who are getting out of prison who serve their time, everybody for that matter, be able to have public housing? Why doesn't it make sense that they can have Pell Grants to go to school? Why doesn't it make sense they can have access to health care? What are we, nuts? That's what we keep doing.
Yeah, sorry, that's our time there.
No, I'm sorry. I know Jill has to use this, but I've talked too much. I apologize.
No, I gotta ask you though, why so much resistance on admitting the crime bill and other legislation you are a part of was damaging to the black community? Because we had Hillary on a few.
I just want to point out, okay? And I just want to be clear, this is speculation. This is not fact, this is speculation, but I've been doing this for many years, and I have been on the road as I'm interviewing politicians, as I'm interviewing political, high-level political people, where they are saying really, really stupid shit. They are saying really, really damaging stuff. They are putting their foot in their mouth, and you have press people to the right just doing their darndest to yank them away from me. I've been through this, and I generally know when a politician actually has to go because they have a packed schedule, and when a press person is yanking this person for dealer life so that this train wreck doesn't get worse. That press person, after 10 minutes into the interview, says, that's all our time, was acting on a higher person, telling that press person, end it now, get him out of there. This is why Joe Biden doesn't do a lot of media. This is why their strategy is hide this man in the basement I don't care if there's a nuclear disaster. Don't let him come out. We will win by putting duct tape over his mouth. This is my opinion, but I think that press person was trying to yank Joe Biden, not because he had to go, but because they saw the train wreck that you see and I see. Let's continue.
Years ago, and Ms. Clinton said that the crime bill, we made a lot of mistakes with that, and she wanted to atone for that by becoming the next president. Like,
she was wrong. What happened was it wasn't the crime bill. It was the drug legislation. It was the institution of mandatory minimums, which I oppose. Mandatory, I oppose them then.
I thought you was a part of that in '84 as well. The Comprehensive Crime Control Act that established mandatory minimum sentences for drug offenses.
No. What happened was what you're confusing is what happened was the Black Caucus came to me and said, look, I did this study when I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee. We looked at every district of the of the 10 court districts in America, federal court districts. And we found out that if you got arrested for robbery and convicted, and I got arrested for robbery and convicted, it was the first time, you went to jail an average of 13 years. I went to jail an average of 3 years. So there was this whole move, same time for the same crime. So no one based on their color could go to jail longer than anybody else for the same crime. So what happened was there was a judicial selection committee setting up that how you deal with making sure that the sentencing process is taken out of the hands of prosecutors saying, I'm going to want 12 years, 13 years for you, and 3 years for me. The end result of that was the unintended consequence, which we changed, Barack and I did, was the fact that you, in fact, all of a sudden, you could not lower my sentence or your sentence be lower than what was the average sentence for everybody else going to jail in the districts. That's how that came about. It didn't say mandatory. We said to the judges, you can't send people to jail for the same crime different times. They have to be within a framework. That's why that has been changed. And while I was vice president, I helped Barack, we reduced the prison population federally by 38,000 people. 38,000 people. And the only mandatory was in there was carjacking, which I opposed, and 3 strikes and you're out, which is ridiculous. It only was imposed 3 times. But still, even once makes no sense. The idea of 3 strikes and you're out. Give me a break. And the other thing we have to do, one of the things that, I was a public defender. I'm going to insist when I'm president that a federal public defender gets paid the same amount of money as a federal prosecutor gets paid. So you have representation. People have representation. But the bottom line is, the other piece is, I'm going to try to change, and I've laid it out. I'll send you a copy of my plan so you have it to see it.
Lift every voice?
Pardon me?
What, to lift every voice or what?
No, the plan I have is my manifesto for Black America. And particularly the portion of it that relates to how, in fact, we're going to deal with the prison system. If you are in prison, if you are...
God, the sheer arrogance. So Charlemagne actually calls him out. Wait a minute, weren't you for the mandatory minimums? He lies again. He says, no, I wasn't for mandatory minimums. Google it. Joe Biden was absolutely for mandatory minimums. Absolutely for mandatory minimums. Lawrence Johnson, $10 in the GoFundMe. Terry, $5 in the GoFundMe. We are now $305 away. $305 away from hitting 103,000. Keep it coming if you can. The guy is lying out of his teeth. Lying out of his teeth. He was the creator of the crime bill. He pushed mandatory minimum sentences. He pushed 3 strikes, you're out. He pushed the discrepancy between crack cocaine and powdered cocaine. And now he's going to solve all these things. Yeah, you're going to solve all the problems you created. And it wasn't just him, there were other politicians. But by the way, real leaders don't say, well, everybody in the Black Caucus agreed with me. Real leaders don't say, all the black leaders around the country agreed. Real leaders, when something toxic is wildly popular, you know what they say? No. That's what Bernie Sanders said about the Iraq War. And Bernie Sanders has said, I was wrong on the crime bill. Jesus, Hillary Clinton said the crime bill was bad. She was probably saying it just to get elected, but at least she said it. This man can't even acknowledge that the crime bill created mass incarceration in this country. It obviously created mass incarceration in this country. And by the way, if you counted, that was the third time in 15 minutes he said, come on, man, give me a break, to Charlemagne. Charlemagne was not even challenging Joe Biden, and he kept Joe Biden just kind of, all of a sudden, like a tick, like a nervous tick. Come on, man, give me a break. Come on, man, are you kidding me? And why I disagree with one of the super chatters, this is still a super chat, by the way. By the way, we got almost 900 viewers. Holla. Make sure you subscribe. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. We are a small independent media outlet. By the way, we grow through you. Just a lot of members because people are losing their jobs. This is how we grow, so sign up as a member if you could afford it. That's 16 cents a day, $5 a month to be a member. We appreciate all our members. But he's lying through his teeth, and no journalist, and I'm not criticizing Charlemagne, he's not like a journalist, he's a radio host. But no journalist will just say, no journalist has done their research enough, or they just aren't allowed to challenge Joe Biden because they don't want to lose the access. Can't lose the access. Joe Biden, like, I just Googled it, and you were for mandatory minimum sentences. You were for 3 strikes, you're out. You did sign on to incentivizing states with more money if they created more prisons. So why are you lying? And by the way, I don't want to hear from neoliberals that you're helping to elect Trump by telling the truth. I am a journalist. It is not my job to cover for Joe Biden. I would love to see Donald Trump defeated, but as a journalist, you can't just close your eyes, count to 10, and ignore blatant lies, racism, white privilege, and stupidity. It's amazing. And by the way, to be honest, the longer he speaks, the more clear it becomes. He's not well cognitively. He's just not. I mean, it's the truth. So we are coming down to the end of this incredible interview. Let's hear the rest.
My name is Michelle Santiago. I do break pack order fill here.
Wake that ass up.
Which I opposed, and are convicted of a crime. No one should be going to jail for a drug crime. Period. Nobody. So no matter what the crime, particularly marijuana, which makes no sense for people to go to jail. They should be just wiped out completely. And the reason is that, if anything, for those crimes that are actually continue to be crimes, scheduled crimes, as marijuana shouldn't be anymore, what is happening is you shouldn't go to prison. You should go to a mandatory rehabilitation. Mm-hmm. It costs less to put people in a drug rehabilitation program than it does in jail. And you have a chance. We got to give people a chance.
You know, Vice President Biden, I've read some of your Black agenda, and you say that you would decriminalize marijuana. What's the difference between legalizing it and decriminalizing it?
Because they're trying to find out whether or not there is any impact on the use of marijuana, not in leading you to other drugs, but what it affects. Does it affect long-term development of the brain? And we should wait till the studies are done. I think science matters.
I think we got decades and decades of studies from actual weed smokers, though.
Yeah, I do. I know a lot of weed smokers.
I want to ask you about your running mate. I don't know if you saw. Well, I saw the day that a news report broke that Amy Klobuchar was being vetted, and a lot of people on social media, they're not too happy about that. And It's because they want your running mate to be a black woman. I don't know if you saw the op-ed in the Washington Post by some of the leading black women voices in this country, and they feel since black women are such a loyal voting bloc, and black people saved your political life in the primaries this year, they have things they want from you, and one of them is a black woman running mate. What do you say to them?
What I say to them is that I'm not acknowledging anybody who is being considered, but I guarantee you there are multiple black women being considered. Multiple.
Well,
Thanks so much. That's really our time. I apologize.
You can't do that to black media.
I can't do that to white media and black media because my wife has to go on at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. Come on. Take a look at the record.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Anyway, thanks. I will come back.
All right.
I look forward to seeing you in person.
Okay, absolutely.
If you came to this late, oh, by the way, one more lie, because he said during the interview that the NAACP has repeatedly endorsed him. Here's the president of the Georgia NAACP. Let the record reflect that the NAACP has never endorsed Joe Biden. We don't endorse candidates as an organization, per I Major Wish, president of Georgia NAACP. That was just one of the lies he told. So, if you came to this late, I just want to repeat, and thank you for the super chat, George Allen, $10. I was tired of Biden last year when he got in the race. Well, there's a lot of people after tonight that are a little bit more than just tired of Joe Biden. And thank you for the GoFundMe. Holy cow, we're really moving along here. Thank you, Christopher, for the $10, Terry for the $5. We are now $295 away. $295 away from $103,000 raised. Can we do it in this final stretch? Is there enough of you? Totally get it if you can't. People are hurting, but we appreciate any donation.
If everyone gave $1, that'd be over $900.
GoFundMe has a $5 minimum, unfortunately. All right, let's keep going. By the way, 900 viewers. Can we get to 1,000 viewers? Keep pressing the like button. Keep sharing. I want to remind you of what Nina Turner said about this, because we reached out to her, and as far as I know, she gave us a statement first before anybody else. But I want to remind you what Nina Turner said in response to this brazen show of racism. And Jen, feel free to drop the tweet in the super chat so people could retweet it if they want. In response to Biden's "you ain't black if you don't vote for me," Nina Turner told us, Status Coup, "This is pure, unadulterated hubris. The taking for granted of the black vote, the insult to us as he tried to quote unquote answer that question in a black vernacular. Quote, what other racial or ethnic group in this country has to deal with that kind of foolishness? Not one. Where all of a sudden you change your speech pattern to answer the question too? Too many white politicians have a habit of thinking if they change their speech pattern, they're really relating to the black community. So, as I said all along, the black vote must be earned. It is not owned, it is earned. For any white person to think that they are the authority on what is and what is not black is the highest insult. To be fair, I gotta be fair, after Biden's campaign realized what a shitstorm he created, he said, he apologized, quote, "I should not have been so cavalier. I've never, ever taken the African American community for granted. I shouldn't have been such a wise guy. I shouldn't have been so cavalier. No one should have to vote for any party based on their race, their religion, their background." So obviously that was a statement written by somebody else, attributed to Joe Biden. He didn't write that. I can promise you that. Thank you for the super chat. Jeff Brandel, $20. Thank you for the super chat. Swirly swirl. That interview is pure cringe. Couldn't agree more. By the way, if we have any new viewers, make sure you press the subscribe button. Subscribe to this channel. Click the bell. All that good stuff. So here's my takeaway from all this. And again, I'm a white guy, not a black guy, so I don't want to white-splain. But there's some key takeaways here and why this matters. What he said today, besides being racist, besides being totally arrogant, besides being, frankly, incoherent for a large portion of that interview, why this matters so much. What he did today, I think his support among the black vote is going to go down. I don't think it's going to go way, way down, but I think his support among the black vote, look at polls in 2 to 3 weeks, is going to go down. I think Joe Biden had a chance at picking up more millennial black voters, because Hillary Clinton did very well among older African Americans. She really didn't do so hot among millennial black voters, in the general too, not just the primary. Joe Biden, even though he said, I did really good among millennial black voters, Bernie Sanders won among millennial black voters in almost every state, including South Carolina. Older black voters, again, I don't want to speak for them. They might vote for Joe Biden no matter what. But if voters under 40, black voters under 40, they see this shit, those are the people that really listen to Puff Daddy, P. Diddy. Those are the people that really listen to Charlemagne the God, Cornel West, Danny Glover, Nina Turner. They don't feel obligated to vote for Joe Biden, particularly if Joe Biden's going to tell them, you ain't black if you don't vote for me. What that is the Democratic Party arrogance of the last 30 years. You owe me your vote because you got nowhere else to go, because if you don't vote for me, you get crazy Trump. You get racist Trump. So vote for me and keep taking the crumbs that the Democratic Party will give you. That's basically what Joe Biden is saying. And there was other things he said that are not going to get the media attention. I kicked their ass. Then he quickly changed his tone. I kicked their ass in South Carolina. And by the way, it is not a black agenda. It is not an actual policy platform. It is not an actual commitment to the black community if your answer is, I won by this much among black people. I won everywhere. I've won every race among black voters. What does that mean? That doesn't actually tell black voters now, what are you going to do for them? Black unemployment has always been higher than white unemployment. But it's not just unemployment. Black people's health care outcomes are worse. Black people's mortality is worse than white people. And that's because of the structural rigging of our economy. That's because of the 40-year bank robbery that the Republicans and Democrats have been teaming up on. It's not good enough to say, well, Trump's more racist. It's not good enough to say, well, Trump is going to ban religions. A country club racist is not going to defeat Donald Trump. Just like an arrogant, entitled, woke, woman wasn't going to beat Donald Trump. It's about, are you actually offering people a substantial, substantive, tangible, hopeful change in their lives? All Joe Biden is doing is criticizing President Trump's horrible, horrible leadership. But that's not enough. People need something to vote for, not just against, particularly during a pandemic where more people might be a little more cautious about actually going to a voting booth. Thank you, Tanya H. 10 euros from the pond, or wherever you're coming from. Thank you, Tanya. Kelly, Bernie, Nina, 2020, $10. Keep up the great work. Jordan, Jen, Anat, Dave, and Michael. Love this community. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, my Lord. Holy cow. Thank you for the GoFundMe. Gene Shahid, $50 in the GoFundMe. John Millard, $50 in the GoFundMe. Christopher, $10 in the GoFundMe. Oh, my Lord, we are now 100 and what is that? $180 away. $180 away from $103,000. Can we do it? Can we do it in the next 15 minutes? $180 away. And you want to know something? As bad as Donald Trump is, and I think the truth is, if we had competent leadership during this pandemic, I think there could have been 50 to 60,000 people. And that's what the reports are saying. If Trump would have acted 2 weeks earlier, I think a report I saw yesterday, 90% of the deaths wouldn't have died. But does anybody truly think, put aside politics for a second, does anybody think the person that they just watched is so much more competent than Donald Trump? Really? He can't construct full sentences. He's slurring his words at points. And he's an arrogant racist. That is racism. And there's different types of racism, and I've seen them all, because I've spoken with some Trump supporters, and I've spoken with some arrogant neoliberals who drink wine on a Friday night. There's visceral racism, KKK racism, and then there's just the quiet, subtle country club racism. One is worse than the other, but at the end of the day, they all create a threat to African Americans and minorities. And that's the truth. And honestly, in the United Corporations of America, that's what that flag is about. We live in the United Corporations of America. Every time the Democratic Party has pushed the Joe Bidens of the world on us, the moderates, the most electables, the safest choices, they lose time and time again because they don't inspire the actual base that you need. And by the way, if the expert pundits out there, if they truly think that that guy is going to be the key to getting those 10% of voters that voted for Obama and then switched to Trump to switch back to Biden, I don't think that's going to work. Because you might have older African Americans that vote based on survival and pragmatism that say, well, I don't like what he said, but we got to get rid of Trump. But again, you don't just need older African Americans to take out Trump. You need African Americans of all ages. Remember, Hillary Clinton, in 2016, she got 5% less black people compared to Obama in 2012. She got 5% less Latinos compared to Obama in 2012. She got 6% less ages 18 to 29. That's why she lost. It was not the Russian boogeyman. It was because she didn't get the necessary amount of black people, Latino people, and young people. Does anybody think Joe Biden is going to beat those numbers? I mean, listen, all bets are off. If unemployment's at like 40 to 50%, which is possible, then a racist, comatose Joe Biden might just beat out Donald Trump if unemployment is truly, truly horrific. But if the economy is starting to do a little bit better, imagine if that's how Joe Biden sounds at 15 minutes with an African-American host who is not actually challenging him. What do you think Joe Biden is going to be? How do you think he's going to act? How do you think he's going to respond to the attacks coming to him from Trump? Say what you want about Trump. He's a street brawler. And they're already bringing everything but the kitchen sink. They've gone after Biden on China in ads. They're now showing ads of Joe Biden's cognitive challenges, shall we say? And by the way, Donald Trump, he doesn't care about the black community, but their campaign is making extreme efforts to do better among black voters than they did last time. They are advertising in black communities, on black radio, and they will, and they have more money than Biden has. So what do you think? Am I being overdramatic? Am I not being dramatic enough? Would you vote for Biden after watching that interview? I'm trying to be fair. He did apologize, but I think he said what he meant. And it's not just racism, it's the arrogance of what he said. Look at my record. I think he truly believes his record has been good for black voters because he's not really a middle-class champion. That has been a narrative created by media and the Democratic Party. He's not a champion of the middle class. He has helped decimate the middle class, including a lot of black people. A lot of black people worked in those General Motors factories, and their jobs got sold to China and Mexico. A lot of black people worked in the steel plants and the manufacturing plants that NAFTA and the TPP, by the way, that Biden loves and would sign as president. A lot of black people had their votes, their jobs sent to other countries along with white people. Remember, in Detroit, Flint, a lot of those places, those factories had a lot of African Americans that migrated, the Great Migration, from the South to the Midwest. It's just obscene. Thank you, Colleen, $15. Brett, $50. Holy cow. We are now $115 away from $103,000. Oh my God. Your generosity today in the Super Chat and the GoFundMe, we cannot thank you enough. We can't thank you enough. Chris Schellinger, $4.99 in the Super Chat. Thank you so much. Let's read some comments, concerns. Oh, by the way, we didn't even get to the fact that in a separate interview today, Biden again doubled down. I will not sign Medicare for all, even though roughly 30 million people have lost their employer-sponsored health care. He's still on the Obamacare train. Obamacare will save us. Well, let me ask you, if you're one of the 30, almost 39 million people that have filed for unemployment, is Obamacare going to help you if you don't have money to pay your rent, pay your car insurance, pay your student loans, pay your mortgage, food, groceries? Are you going to be able to get on Obamacare and pay the deductible for your plan of Obamacare, pay the co-insurance, the co-pays? Joe Biden is proposing Obamacare will save this situation when an estimated 40 million people are facing unemployment, when they don't have jobs to actually pay for Obamacare. This is not the time for for-profit health care. This is the time to say we are going to expand everybody through Medicare. But he won't lead, and I'll tell you why he won't lead, because of stories and his donors. Go to statuscoup.com. Read my story on Biden's healthcare donors. They are why he will not move an inch on Medicare for all. If you haven't read it, I name names and list his donors. There's the story. Read it and share it. His donors won't allow him to move 1 inch on healthcare. During a deadly global pandemic, he will not expand your healthcare. He would rather see more people lose their insurance and, frankly, face really bad health outcomes without being able to see a doctor. And he doesn't I think he does understand, but pretends that Obamacare, oh yeah, you'll get a cheap plan, it'll be fine. Well, if half the people can't even get their unemployment because unemployment offices, state after state, are being overrun, remember, people can't even get unemployment. The state offices of unemployment are not equipped for this level of people filing for unemployment all at once. So they can't get their unemployment, but even if they do get their unemployment, you got rent to pay or mortgage, car payments, student loans, all these things. Plus, if you have kids, expensive. You're not going to have money left over for your Obamacare deductible, co-insurance, co-pays. If you're lucky, in New York, if you're lucky, the cheapest Obamacare plan you could get is $500 a month. That's before the deductible, the co-insurance. Yeah, if you make less, the cost goes down, but there's still a cost. A little handful of people behind the scenes are calling the shots. Hizzy Mobizzy says, you're right. You are right. And by the way, another reminder, please, if you're new to Status Coup, subscribe right under there. Press that subscribe button. The more people that subscribe, the more people that will see us live. By the way, we are also live on Sundays. One of the few outlets that go live on Sundays around noon Eastern time. So around noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, give or take 15 minutes, because I like taking a long shower Sunday mornings. So between noon and 12:30, shall we say, I go live. Also, if you can, consider becoming a member. Not only do we come to you live from studios, we go out in the field. We've been all over this country in the last 2 years. For those OG Status Coupers, you know, we've been everywhere. Flint, Detroit, Dallas, Seattle, Washington, New Hampshire, Iowa, during the campaign, Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina, California, Michigan. I mean, we've been everywhere, folks. We've been to Nevada, South Bend, Indiana. We go out in the field and we give the microphone back to the people, because there aren't a lot of other independent outlets doing it. There certainly aren't a lot of corporate outlets doing it. They're too busy doing 24/7 Trump and the Russian boogeyman. We're not interested in that. Thank you, Tanya, $10 at the GoFundMe. Thank you, George, $10 at the GoFundMe. We are now, just $95 away from $103,000. $95 away from $103,000. If I get to $103,000, I'm ordering Empanada Mama. Empanada Mama. Not with this money, though, to be clear. This is all for the company. This is all for the company. Keep it coming. Maybe we could get that 90. Maybe we can get to 103,000. So I want to read some comments before I go. Let's get to 1,000 likes. I agree. And also, something we've started to do more of, we're starting to interview more progressive candidates. We had 2 great interviews this week. One was with a candidate in Virginia. She's actually an Afghan American who is running against a really, really sleazy corporate Dem. Go check that out. It's up on the channel. We also interviewed a real great candidate here in New York, challenging one of the most corrupt corporate Dems, Gregory Meeks. That's up. We also interviewed Max Blumenthal of the Gray Zone. He has an incredible story about, you thought they were spying on Julian Assange? You didn't even know. Max and the Gray Zone exposed so much more of the corruption behind America's spying on Julian Assange. We have interviews with Max. We also interviewed Aaron Matte of the Gray Zone also on the new developments in Russiagate. We've done so much in the last week. Thank you, Crazy Boo, $5. Thank you for your investigative reporting. Thank you for your support. We really appreciate it. Let's see. All right, let me read some more. Biden tried to push Reagan to ramp up mass incarceration in the 80s. Then the Democratic Party finally carried it out with Biden's lead. Intercept has a piece on it. I will look for that piece. I'm on the ACA and I pay nothing here in New York. We have expanded Medicaid here. It works well for me and my grandchildren. That's interesting, Angela, because I tried to get on the ACA and it would have cost me $600. So for some people it might work. For other people's, it's just as expensive as Cobra. But I'm glad it's working for you, Angela. I really am. Jay, I'm not satisfied as I need something more sincere. How about this? You admit Trump is nothing more than a puppet of the establishment and is absolutely terrible? When have I ever said anything nice about Trump? Donald Trump is a fraud. Donald Trump is a racist. But the difference between myself and others is just because Donald Trump is a racist, a fraud, and all these things, I don't then ignore the corruption of his opponents. You can't just close your eyes, Jay, and say, oh, Biden's great. We just got to beat Trump. Doesn't matter who it is. Trump is a racist. Trump is a fraud. That's why me and other progressives said, this is not the candidate that's going to beat Donald Trump. But I am no Donald Trump. I am no Donald Trump defender. I don't cover Donald Trump as much as other people do. Because what can I cover that all the other outlets aren't covering 24/7? That's all they do. I like covering things no one is covering. Blah, blah, blah. ACA cost me $700 a month. Who said that? With a $6,000 deductible. Kelly McBride. Kelly and Bernie, Nina. So there you go. There you go. Some people, it goes state by state. Some people, it doesn't cost them an arm and a leg. Some people, it costs them arm, leg, rib cage, Simone Sanders on Twitter said Biden made his comments in jest. Oh, Simone Sanders. I could say a lot about Simone Sanders, but I'm not gonna stoop to that level. But she's got no shame. Let's put it that way. No shame. By the way, $95 away. $95 away from $103,000. What I would do to go into the weekend at $103,000, then we would be $7,000 away from our ultimate goal. Can we do it or not? Yeah. That's my girlfriend. Yeah. Love her. People don't understand that folks on Medicare have to pay $144 out of their Social Security checks, plus we still have giant copays. And by the way, where has Joe Biden been on the Democratic Party's shit sandwich of proposals during a deadly global pandemic? Where has Joe Biden been that we need a lot more than checks of $1,200? Where has Joe Biden been that we need more than unemployment? Where has Joe Biden been on, no, we don't, it's not that we need oversight of the money sent to corporations. We shouldn't be sending money to corporations. Why wasn't Joe Biden on the front lines in the first bill when Nancy Pelosi was going along with Mitch McConnell? Again, Nancy Pelosi is just Mitch McConnell's getaway driver. Republicans can't get to rob the Treasury if Democrats aren't driving the getaway car. They can't do it. The Republicans can't get half of the terrible policies they want through without the Democrats. The Democrats went along with the corporate bailout and then after the fact said, oh, there's not enough oversight here. Well, why did you allow it in the first place? $1.99. I don't think the Democratic Party wants to win. Well, they're certainly not picking the candidate that will win. They are certainly not picking the candidate that will win. That is for sure, Juan. Oh my God. Oh my God. Anat, we have passed $103,000. Woohoo! Oh my God. Oh my God. Mike Blair, $115. Thank you so much, Mike. We really, really appreciate it, Mike. Leanna, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, $10. Thank you. Mike Blair, $115 twice. I hope that was intentional, Mike. H. Ellis, $5. Oh my God, guys. Honestly, sometimes I'm just at a loss. The fact that you guys continue to keep us going, we have been really hurt by coronavirus. I don't want to complain compared to other businesses that are going out of business, but our core business model is going out into the field and reporting out in the field, and we haven't been able to do that. And that's why we are doing the GoFundMe, so we can keep the lights on. And the fact that you guys are helping us keep those lights on, I can't thank you enough. We're now less than $7,000 away. Less than $7,000 away from our goal of $110,000. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. So does Jen. So before I go, a couple housekeeping notes. Remember, we could only grow through you. Join our text list. All you got to do is text COUP to 370-370. That's COUP to 370-370. We'll be sending out a text on Sunday for our live stream. So you might not get a notification from YouTube. They're not notifying most of the viewers when we're live. So please, please, please text COUP to 370-370 to get on our text list. It doesn't cost you anything. Also, if you can afford it, become a Status Coup member. You can become a Status Coup member for as low as 16 cents a day. That comes out to $5 a month. GoFundMe is temporary. Membership is our permanent business model. So if you could become a member, statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for $5 a month. You get to join a monthly members call with Jen and I. We also do bonus videos just for our members. And most importantly, you're supporting real independent media rather than fake independent media that begs you for money and then does Trump 24/7. We're not like that. And don't want to give you too many homework assignments. Follow us at Instagram. That's Instagram.com/Status Coup. Instagram.com/Status Coup. We're posting more there as well. And again, if you haven't subscribed, press the subscribe button. Press that subscribe button right under the video. We need to get our numbers moving. YouTube has not made it easy. But we really, really appreciate you guys subscribing. And that's all I got. Thank you for watching. If anything breaks major before Sunday, I will come live. Saturdays is like my one day off a week, so I like to spend it with my beautiful girlfriend. Future, we'll see. We're having some conversations here in the household about the future.
Play your cards right.
If what'd you say? If I play my cards right?
You play your cards right.
Yeah. Well, she got a little angry at me earlier, but we've solved the problem. We've solved the problem. So thank you very much. I'll be live Sunday again. Sunday around noon Eastern time. Definitely join our text list. We do not spam you, by the way. You will not be spammed by Status Coup. We send an occasional email and we text when we're live. That's it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you Sunday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Peace out.